Hello everybody, today I'm going to share with you my iMac mid-2014. Now I've had this computer ever since it came out in 2014. I bought this thing back then as I was still starting out college. I had a whole bunch of coupons for one of these things, so I decided to use them all at once and get this machine. Now this is a very base model iMac for the time back in 2014 and still is today. There were better options, more powerful options at the time, but with all the coupons I had, I didn't want to spend too much on a powerful machine because I didn't need that power at the time here through college. I just wanted a machine that could replace my previous iMac that was having problems. So this fit the bill perfectly, and if I ever do want a more powerful one for me to use, I'll just go out and get one. But this machine has served me well through college without any problems at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the specs of this machine. Inside we have an Intel Core i5 processor running at 1.4 GHz. It is dual core and has turbo boost up to 2.7 GHz. Now I do believe this processor has 4 threads of execution, 2 per core. That is if I remember correctly. We also have 8 GB of DDR3 memory soldered directly to the motherboard, so you cannot upgrade that. We have Intel HD Graphics 5000, which I believe shares 1.5 GB of memory for video RAM. We have a 500 GB traditional spinning hard drive inside. That is not an SSD. And I believe that would be one of the biggest drawbacks of this machine, is because the hard drive inside is a laptop style hard drive, so it doesn't have the speed of a desktop style one, and therefore it slows down the machine quite a bit. So that is probably one of the best upgrades you can do for this. However, I do believe you need to have a special SSD for this machine, as there are special sensors within the hard drive. At least that's what I remember reading. Anyway, that's about it for the specs of this machine, so let's go ahead and take a look around. On the front of the machine, as I believe I forgot to mention, is the 21.5-inch screen. You can tell it is glossy, but they've done a pretty good job at minimizing the glare that happens from it. On the top of the screen, we can find our 720p eyesight camera with a light sensor on one side and a light indicator on the other to tell you if the camera is in use. At the top, we have one of 2 microphones. The second one is back here, and it is used for noise canceling. Reaching around the back right-hand side of the machine, we will find our ports. Moving from left to right, we have audio in and out, an SD card slot, 4 USB 3.0 ports, 2 Thunderbolt, the first generation that is, and Ethernet. Taking a look underneath the stand, we will find ventilation, the place to plug in our power cord, and at the bottom our Kensington lock port. Reaching around the back left-hand side of the machine, we will find our power button. Taking a look at the bottom of the machine, we will find ventilation. On either side are the stereo speakers, which actually sound quite good on this machine. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn this machine on. Here we go. So let's talk a little bit about the operating system on this machine. As I focus on the screen here, so hopefully we don't refocus 100 times. So currently this machine is running macOS 10.13.4, which is High Sierra. It is currently unknown what the next version of macOS will be. It'll probably be 10.14, however the name hasn't been chosen at the making of this video. Now I'm pretty sure the next version of macOS will be supported on this machine. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Since the machine is so new. But that is what it's currently running. It does connect to wireless networks. It does have Bluetooth. Obviously you can use Bluetooth keyboards and mice, as that is what the computer comes with when you get it brand new. Now, it does take a little bit to boot up, as you can see here, and remember, inside, when it was originally configured, I got it with the hard drive because that was a cheaper option. Now it does have a laptop style hard drive, and again that's operating at 5400 RPMs, so it is quite slow. It could be upgraded to an SSD, however, from what I've read, as I've previously stated, it needs a special sensor inside for heat or something like that. So, basically it connects and does everything. It is a modern iMac. Just from 2014, really. So I've used this thing quite a bit here through college, and I haven't had any problems, as I, well, stated before. It's thinking of something. We'll go to About This Mac so we can go ahead and take a look at the specs of this machine again. I know I stated them previously, but we'll look at them again. Like I said, it is slow because of that hard drive, but once it, if I boot it up and let it sit for like a minute or two and then come back and use it, everything works just fine. It just takes a little bit to get everything up to speed when I first boot it up. And this is a great example right here where we're waiting for just the information screen to come up, which I'm sure it eventually will. Anyway, while it's waiting to do that, being the latest version of macOS and a newer iMac, well obviously it's 4 years old now, but it has all the up-to-date web browsers on it. Anything from Safari, Opera, Firefox, Chrome, they're all on here. And you can take a look at them right here. I'm probably trying to do too many things at once while it's trying to load up whatever in the world it's doing because this is ridiculous. It should have brought it up by now. This is the specs of the machine. As I previously stated, it's 10.13.4 and all the specs from beforehand. The display is a 1080p display. This is not a 4K display at all. You can see the graphics there, and that's the amount of memory for the graphics that it uses. Of course, storage, you can see the 500 gigabyte hard drive, which I should find a nice SSD to put in this thing. So anyway, there's the specs of the machine again. And it's giving us the beach ball again, so there it goes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the internet. I personally like to use Safari on this machine, but as the other applications will show here, the other web browsers such as Firefox and Chrome work just fine as well. So wait for this to come up. There we go. We'll go to the lighting gallery here since that's a nice basic website. So wait for that to come up. There we go. And obviously we can scroll and it keeps up just fine. No issues there. So basic websites are absolutely fine. We can also go to YouTube, for example, here. And YouTube will obviously run just fine on this computer too. Now there's no reason to try 4K on this machine. It doesn't even have a 4K display. Obviously 1080p, streams here on YouTube, whether it be Twitch or Netflix or whatever, it all streams absolutely fine on this computer. There's no lag at all from the computer's behalf, that is. Any type of streaming video works absolutely fine, even audio too as well. So watching YouTube isn't a problem at all. So we'll go ahead and close out of the internet because you can pretty much throw any type of internet task at this computer and there'll be no problem at all. We do have Office on here as well. So here's Word, the latest version, 2016. It runs. The only complaint I have about it is that it takes forever to load on this computer. So it'll probably be doing that for a little bit. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit about the extra apps here. As you may have noticed down in the bottom, I do have Photoshop on this machine, and this is the oldest version of Photoshop that you're going to get to work on here, as it's Photoshop CS3. I believe that was the first version to be both Mac and PowerPC, or sorry, not Mac and PowerPC, but Intel and PowerPC compatible. It was a universal product like that. Now it is a very old version, so some of these apps don't work, such as, I think it's either Illustrator or InDesign just doesn't work at all. You can get it to load up, but some of the menus are just messed up because this operating system is obviously way too new for it. But I can use Photoshop just fine. Photoshop seems to work absolutely fine, this older version on here. Now you can obviously run a newer version of Photoshop on here. Even the latest version that Adobe has in their Creative Cloud, I'm sure, will work absolutely fine on here. So now that we have Word come up, we can create a document here. It's going to think about it, and we can start just typing away. So Let's go ahead and quit Word. A lot of this slowness is just because of that hard drive. I've tested that. It's just that hard drive. Again, back to these apps here. All of them work absolutely fine on this machine. I personally like to use iMovie for my video editing because it does what I need it to do without all the extra fancy features, and it gets the job done for what I like to do. Now, I have used Final Cut Pro on this machine, and it works absolutely fine. Obviously, it's not, you know, the best machine for something like that, and that's why I just like to use iMovie. So all these other applications, like I said, work just fine. I haven't had any issues with any of them. Minecraft I do play on this machine quite a bit, and it runs just fine without any issues of lag or anything like that. Again, don't expect, you know, incredibly high settings out of something like that, but it will run, and it runs just fine and very smoothly as well when you put it on, you know, like normal average settings. So overall, this machine has worked fantastic for me throughout my college career here and up until graduation here too. And it's done its job. It is slow with the hard drive, so that's why I recommend doing something with an SSD. There was an SSD option when this thing was new, but I decided to skip that because of cost savings. But yeah, a fantastic machine for what it is. Anyway, I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and also please comment, rate, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.